Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new segment on my channel, which I'll be using to cover various agencies, departments, officials, politicians, and what they've been up to over the last 24 hours. Most of this stuff you won't see anywhere on the mainstream news, or frankly, anywhere else really, so I'll be covering it right here. The federal government has over 5 million people employed, so needless to say, there's a lot that happens in our government on a daily basis. Way too much for any news outlet or any individual can cover, but I'll do my best. But today, it was actually a little heavier than I expected, but I don't think there were as many articles and video clips as there were yesterday. And I did get some background music, as you can probably hear. So hopefully it's not too loud. Hopefully it's a little soothing and relaxing and not too annoying. I tried to go with something generic, and I don't know. If you like it enough, or if you want it yourself, just check the description. I've got a link to it in the description if you want to check it out. It's like a 12-hour video of just background music, so there's a lot in there. And I've got it set to repeat, so it's probably going to be a while before the same song plays over again. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see. But so also, any articles I open up in this video, they will also be in the description. So if you enjoyed the video, please give a like or even subscribe if you like it enough to see it again. And let's get straight into it. So starting off, from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, don't believe the media's eyes. At our ICE Gov detention centers, detainees are given beds, they're given warm showers, they're even given tablets, which probably have the internet on them. And they also receive 3 meals a day. I'm sure they're hot meals too. They probably could have included that, but you know, whatever. At least they're showing the world that they are feeding these detainees, which I think the media is brutally insane to suggest that they're not being fed and they're not given simple beds and warm showers. I mean, if I were the one that was typing this up, I probably would have said hot showers, not warm showers, because you know they're going to try any way they possibly can to frame it in the most negative way possible by reading this. That's if anybody, MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, whoever, anybody who gets a hold of this and they want to put it on screen. I know New York Times, that they don't have a news show on TV, but whatever. They're going to do whatever they can to try to rip this apart. But so anyway, finally, professional and mental and physical health care, often for the first time in their lives. So, I mean, that depends if they're from a sanctuary state or a sanctuary city area. I mean, they've been getting free Medicare for years at this point, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, it's a pretty short video clip, only 18 seconds, but it's enough to get the gist of what he's trying to say here. So let's give it a listen.
I can tell you right now, we have no cages at our detention centers, nor have I ever seen a cage.
No cages.
In one of our detention centers. We have beds.
I think that was Obama, wasn't it?
Warm showers.
Kids in cages.
And
Mr. Obama.
There's tablets in each individual dorm. I don't refer to them as jails. I just, they're dorms, they're dormitories.
Dude, they even get tablets. They even got tablets. They got fucking tablets, man. I don't know if they're fancy Apple tablets. I don't know if they're those iPads. I don't know. I've never had an iPad. Probably, what are those, Kindle Fire or something like that? Whatever the cheap tablets are. I don't know. Maybe they got one of those. Whatever. Who knows? It wouldn't surprise me if Amazon's contracting with the federal government and the federal government's buying a shitload of tablets from somewhere. Because, you know, all the illegal immigrants, they got to have some entertainment while they're in these detention facilities. I mean, it's not like American prisoners that they have any access to tablets. Oh, wait a minute. They actually do. There are people in prison who do have access to tablets, believe it or not, and the internet. I'm sure it's heavily restricted. I'm sure they can't just go on whatever the hell they want, but who knows? Maybe they can. So anyway, so the next one comes from FBI Director Kash Patel. Stealing $250 million from hungry kids to buy mansions and luxury cars is as shameless as it gets. Proud of our FBI and FBI Minneapolis field office for exposing one of the worst frauds in Minnesota history and holding dozens accountable. Exploit the vulnerable, and we will bring you to justice. So Patel, he touts the FBI's dozens of convictions in $250 million Minnesota COVID scam. Kash Patel calls $250 million pandemic nutrition program theft as shameless as it gets, with 70 people indicted in Minnesota. So very good news there. Fantastic. Awesome. Actually, yeah, I thought I actually had an article for this. So this is on foxnews.com. Again, I'm going to put all this in the description if you want to go see it for yourself, because I might not have time to read every single word in this article, but I'll try to get through as much as I can, if not all of it. Patel touts FBI's dozens of convictions in $250 million Minnesota COVID scam. Kash Patel calls $250 million pandemic nutrition program theft, as shameless as it gets, with 70 indicted in Minnesota. I just read that over on X, so I really didn't have to read that again. All right, so let's see here. $250 million fraud scheme that exploited a federally funded children's nutrition program during a COVID-19 pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, which exploited a federal program designed to reimburse states for the cost of feeding children. Conspirators falsely claimed to have served millions of meals during the pandemic, but instead they used the money for personal gain. Of the individuals indicted, 38 have pleaded guilty, FBI officials told Fox News Digital. More than a dozen of the individuals are awaiting criminal trial, with the next trial beginning this August, so just a few weeks away. Quote, stealing over $250 million from hungry kids during a pandemic to fund mansions and luxury cars is as shameless as it gets, FBI Director Kash Patel said in a statement. I'm proud of the FBI and our partners for dismantling this web of corruption, holding dozens accountable, and sending a clear message. If you exploit the most vulnerable, we will find you and bring you to justice. Which is kind of funny because Minnesota is about as blue as it gets. I mean, like back in the 80s, wasn't Minnesota the only state that didn't vote for Ronald Reagan? Like literally every other state in the union, 49 out of 50 states, only Minnesota voted against. So it's quite blue up there. So conspirators charged in the scheme are accused of fabricating invoices, submitting fake attendance records, and falsely distributing thousands of meals from hundreds of so-called food distribution sites across the state, taking advantage of the U.S. Department of Agriculture's decision to waive, for the duration of the pandemic, many of its standard requirements for participation in the federal child nutrition program, including relaxing its requirement for non-school-based distributors to participate in the program. Charging documents show that roughly 300 food sites in the state served little or no food, with the so-called food vendors and organizations fabricated to launder money intended to reimburse the cost of feeding children. They added that FBI officials told Fox News that the investigation and resulting trials and indictments continue to impact the state and have already touched off legislative reforms in Minnesota. They added that the investigation into the fraud remains ongoing and that additional charges are expected, though they did not immediately share more details. So that's U.S. Attorney Andrew Lugar. I guess I could back out if you want to see what he looks like. Andrew Lugar today announced a significant COVID-related fraud case based in Minnesota, Tuesday, September 20th of 2022. All right, so that's a little old, but all right. The next trial in the state is scheduled to begin August 11th. Let's see. Stealing from the federal government equates to stealing from the American people. There is no simpler truth. The FBI's special agent in charge, Alvin Winston, told Fox News Digital in a statement. The egregious fraud unveiled in the Freeing Our Future case epitomizes a profound betrayal of public trust. These individuals misappropriated hundreds of millions in federal funds intended to nourish vulnerable children during a time of crisis, redirecting those resources into luxury homes, high-end vehicles, and extravagant lifestyles while families faced hardship, he added. We will uncover their schemes, dismantle their networks, and ensure that they are held accountable to the fullest extent of the law, he said. Yeah, because a lot of these kids, they were not going to school. They were locked down during COVID. I imagine Minnesota was probably locked. Their schools were closed for probably at least a year, if not longer than that. So a lot of these kids, they depend on school lunches to get 3 meals a day because their parents, they just don't have enough money or the resources or whatever. Maybe they just neglect their kids in general and they just don't feed them 3 times a day if they stay home. So they were actually seriously depending on this program, and it was completely taken advantage of. But as far as I remember, aren't the leaders of Black Lives Matter, aren't they from Minnesota? Or at least a couple of them were from Minnesota, and they also just took pretty much all of the money that they raised in Black Lives Matter, and they did the same fucking thing. They bought mansions, luxury cars, extravagant vacations. They went to Dubai and all that bullshit. And same thing, same state. I mean, don't quote me on that exactly. I don't know if the whole Black Lives Matter thing was centered in Minnesota. Maybe I'm just thinking George Floyd and I'm just making a connection with Minnesota, but I'm pretty sure that I heard somewhere that the leaders of BLM were buying giant mansions and they were from Minneapolis or something like that. I mean, I guess I could be wrong on that, but anyway, I'll just move on. So Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, update on DoD's cloud services. This just came out a couple hours ago, so let's give this a listen.
Earlier this week, we were alerted to a potential vulnerability in our DoD computer systems. and we've been checking into it ever since. It turns out that some tech companies have been using cheap Chinese labor to assist with DoD cloud services. This is obviously unacceptable,
What?
especially in today's digital threat environment. Now, this was a legacy system created over a decade ago during the Obama administration.
Of course.
But we have to ensure the digital systems that we use here at the Defense Department are ironclad and impenetrable. And that's why today I'm announcing that China will no longer have any involvement whatsoever in our cloud services effective immediately.
Good.
And at my direction, the department will also initiate, as fast as we can, a 2-week review or faster to make sure that what we uncovered isn't happening anywhere else across the DoD. We will continue to monitor and counter all threats to our military infrastructure and online networks. And I want to thank all those Americans out there in the media and elsewhere who raised this issue to our attention so we could address it. And that's why we're talking to you today. As the president would say, thank you for your attention to this matter, and God bless our warfighters. I'm going to sign that memo right now, initiating that review.
Hell yeah. Right on camera. Let's get it done. Let's keep crushing it, man. All right. Pete Hegseth was a great choice by President Trump. That's nice that he's doing that. That's absolutely, absolutely crazy that the Chinese were involved in our cloud computing in our federal government. That is unbelievable. And of course, it was the Obama administration that started all that, but all right. Anyway, so this is big news that came out a couple hours ago. Special presidential envoy for hostage. Come on, I don't want to have to go all the way to the page. I guess I could scroll out. No, can't. No. Oh shit. Hey, it's a work in progress. I got to fine tune, what I'm doing. I want to get the whole thing. It's too long. Oh, there it is. Special presidential envoy for hostage affairs. There you go. Special presidential envoy for hostage affairs. 10 Americans are on their way home from detention in Venezuela. Thanks to the President of the United States, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the U.S. Embassy in Venezuela, and Adam Bowler, and many others for your support bringing Americans home. So they are on their way home. They've been in detention in Venezuela. So I wish they would have actually linked an article to this. So let me just see if I can bring one up. Let's see, 10 Americans. Let me just look it up. News. Let's see. I guess I'll go with NPR, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to try to be overly biased on these segments. I'll just click whatever, and we'll see what we get. So 10 Americans are freed by Venezuela in a prisoner swap for migrants in El Salvador. All right. Well, I mean, I'm sure that it was very unfair, as it usually is. I'm sure that we got our 10 Americans, and they probably got, 7,500 hardened criminals or some shit. Who knows? But anyway, this is out of Bogota, Colombia. Venezuela has freed 10 Americans in exchange for Venezuelans whom the United States had sent to a prison in El Salvador, the U.S. and Salvadorian government said on Friday. Venezuela also released an unspecified number of Venezuelan political prisoners as part of the deal. Like I said, they probably released a hell of a lot more than 10. Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele confirmed the exchange in a message on X, saying his government handed over Venezuelans accused of being part of a gang in exchange for a considerable number of Venezuelan political prisoners, as well as Americans. No, I don't want to donate, NPR. But anyway, so a social media account belonging to the State Department's Hostage Affairs Office posted a photo, which we just saw, of the men it said were released from detention in Venezuela on a plane. In a statement, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the United States welcomed the release of 10 Americans and of Venezuelan political prisoners. The government did not name the people who were released. A State Department official told NPR that the people freed from Venezuela included U.S. citizens and permanent residents who were designated as wrongfully detained less than 1 year ago. The official, who spoke on condition of anonymity because they weren't authorized to speak publicly, said the list included Wilbert Joseph Castaneda, and Lucas Hunter. I'm really bad with names. In March, can you tell? The Trump administration sent about 250 Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador, whose government was paid to house them in a maximum security prison known as CECOT, or CSOT? I don't know. The United States accused many of the men of being gang members and deported them under the Alien Enemies Act, which had not been invoked since World War II. Lawyers for the Venezuelan deportees argued their transfer to El Salvador was illegal. Dozens of them were in the middle of asylum cases and had been held in U.S. detention centers for months. Well, don't come into the United States illegally, and then you won't have to deal with all this shit. On Friday, Bukele published a video of men in handcuffs he said were being handed over to Venezuela as they boarded a plane taking them to the South American country. And I'm assuming that's what this is here. That is loud. Bye. Bye, Felicia. It's your punk ass Tommy Hilfiger shirt. Only douchebags wear Tommy Hilfiger. Come on, man. What the fuck do you think this is? 2002? Come on. I'm just joking. Don't get all butthurt because you wear Tommy Hilfiger. Yeah, Marvel. Yeah, they suck too. Marvel sucks. I'm just kidding. Come on, I'm just kidding. I mean, in part, I don't watch Marvel movies. I don't like superhero movies, but, you know, to each his own. I won't throw too much flack at anybody who enjoys them. Everybody enjoys something. So later, Venezuelan news outlet Telesur broadcast said it was the arrival of a plane carrying a group of the Venezuelan migrants home. Bukele said the prisoner swap was a result of months of negotiations. It was kept secret until Friday, and some of the relatives of the Venezuelan migrants said they found out about it on social media. Gabriela Mora, whose husband, Carlos, I'm not even going to go there, was one of the men sent by the U.S. to El Salvador, tells NPR she was at an event at her daughter's school in Venezuela when she learned about the news. This makes us very happy, she told NPR by phone from Lobatera, a town in Venezuela's Táchira state. We have waited for this day for too long. She's in Venezuela. So this individual, a coal miner from Táchira, entered the U.S. in December after he received an appointment through the U.S. government's CBP One app to cross the border and make his case for asylum in the country. He was then held in a detention center in Texas. U.S. immigration officials alleged that tattoos of crowns and stars on his chest were linked to the Tren de Aragua gang, which they very well could have been. His family says he got the tattoos 15 years ago before the gang had ever been established. But how are we going to know that, dude? How are you going to prove that? Do you have a picture of yourself getting the tattoos that the photo that's time-stamped or something? I'm sure that he doesn't. But anyway, he is not a gang member, Morris said in an interview in May. Just a hardworking man who wants to provide for his family. All right. Well, you know, we're not going to get it 100% correct 100% of the time. I mean, it happens. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully that's not happening too often, if that's even true. But I guess I'll just leave it at that. But that's great news. We're getting 10 Americans that are returning home. That is awesome. They're coming back. I'm sure they've probably landed by now, even though this was posted a couple hours ago. I guess it's possible they might just now be flying or getting in. So, all right. So moving on from the White House, the Genius Act has been signed into law. This was posted an hour ago from the White House at 6:29 p.m., which, by the way, I'll just show you. It's 8:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time where I'm recording this video at the moment. The Genius Act creates a clear and simple regulatory framework to establish and unleash the immense promise of dollar-backed stablecoins. This could be perhaps the greatest revolution in financial technology since the birth of the internet itself. That actually makes me wonder what is going on with crypto right now. Has it absolutely exploded? I know that Bitcoin was doing pretty good. Let me see if I can. I'm going incognito with this, so I'm actually kind of new to that at the moment. But no, it's at 117,972 right now. Ethereum's at 3548 currently. I know the text is small, but let's see. Tether, that's a stable coin. There's almost $161 billion in Tether right now. That is a lot of money. USDC, that is 64 billion, almost 65 billion. So I'm sure that's probably not pertaining to these stable coins specifically. I imagine that the Genius Act, which I haven't read, if I'm being honest, I mean, is it going to allow the Treasury Department to create their own stable coin? Is this going to be some sort of a slippery way to get around the deficit? I mean, are we going to start using digital coins now instead of actual USD? I mean, I don't know, but I guess I could just check it out here real quick. Let's see. I'll just stay on Google here. Matter of fact, I probably could. Well, let's see. The Genius Act, officially known as the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act, is a bill focused on regulating stablecoins, a type of cryptocurrency pegged to a stable asset like the U.S. dollar. It establishes a framework for private companies to issue stablecoins, aiming to provide clarity and consumer protection within the stablecoin market. The bill also addresses reserve requirements, licensing, and compliance for stablecoin issuers, treating them as financial institutions under the Bank Secrecy Act. Okay, well, that's a good thing. So basically, these entities can't do any, pump and dump schemes that happen in crypto all the freaking time. So, I mean, that's a very, very broad and kind of vague, but I mean, that's just the bare gist of it. So the stablecoin regulation, the bill provides a clear regulatory framework, issuance of payment stablecoins, digital assets designed to maintain a stable value tied to a national currency like the US dollar. So I'm assuming if in the future you might work for an employer that for some reason or another, they may not pay you in USD. They might just pay you in I don't know, like Amazon coin or some shit or whatever. Maybe Amazon's going to create their own stable coin and they're just going to pay people Amazon bucks or like ADC, Amazon digital coin or something like that, but you can convert it evenly to USD. I don't know. I mean, I'm not too well read on the whole crypto thing, but I know just a little bit about stablecoin. I get it. It's, one for one stablecoin for one USD. But if you go onto a platform like Coinbase, for instance, they're going to charge you a fee to convert it from one to another. So it's not like a free conversion. But anyway, so the reserve requirements, it mandates that stablecoin issuers hold reserves of assets like cash or treasury bills equal to the total value of their outstanding stablecoins. Good. That's exactly the way it should be. Ensuring a one-to-one backing, these reserves must be held in segregated accounts to prevent misuse or commingling. Actually, that's a really good point to bring up with, like I showed with Tether and USDC. So that essentially forces anybody who's holding or who's running USDC and Tether to have all of that backed by USD. And obviously that's a good thing. We don't want to see a situation where they've issued $100 billion worth of stablecoin. There's 100 billion stablecoins out there, but they only have $1.2 billion in actual savings because, I mean, that would be extremely illegal. So that's really good that was put into the Genius Act. Transparency, also licensing and compliance, AML and sanctions compliance, consumer protection, federal oversight, state and federal alignment, and the impacts include increased stability, greater adoption, innovation, a strengthened U.S. dollar by establishing clear rules for stablecoins. The Genius Act aims to strengthen the U.S. dollar's position as the world's reserve currency. This probably is the first, as far as I know, the first national currency that's going to be integrating stablecoin into our economy in some way or another. I mean, I don't know what it's going to look like in a few years from now. I mean, it may not have any impact on our daily lives at all, or maybe it might have an extremely large impact on our daily lives. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But potential competition, the bill may encourage more companies, including banks, to enter the stablecoin market, potentially leading to more competition and choice for consumers. So yeah, we'll just have to see where that goes. That's quite interesting for sure. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Just one click, not two. So, all right. So that happened today. President Trump signed that. And moving on, about an hour ago, the U.S. Department of Labor, what a difference America First leadership makes. Check this out. This is in September of 2024. This is a Fox Business headline. Surge of migrant workers cutting off the bottom of the career ladder for native-born Americans, says an expert. And this comes from July of 2025. From Fox Business, the same outlet, American-born workers see significant job gains as foreign-born employment drops. So there you go. Only in the span of one single year. And this comes from IRS News. Probably not something you're going to see on mainstream media, but I'm showing it here. Billy Long has officially been sworn in as the 51st IRS commissioner. And I'll go ahead and bring this up here so we can read this. And this is from Billy Long. I'm honored to lead the Internal Revenue Service as its 51st commissioner and grateful for the trust President Trump has placed in me to modernize this critical agency. While April 15th may be a significant day for our team, we're going to be an IRS that operates like every day is the 4th of July, welcoming the American people to our front door, safeguarding their contributions to our great country, making the experience efficient and easy, and delivering value back to our citizens where they are on Main Street. As commissioner, I'm excited to work with my employee partners to deliver the modern taxpayer experience we all know is possible. Billy Long, IRS commissioner. That was frankly a very political statement, really. I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate him, pointing out the fact that he cares about Americans. That's certainly a good thing. I mean, the IRS absolutely should be caring about us, needless to say. So that happened today. And from the Department of Homeland Security, also about an hour ago, DHS is easing unnecessary burdens on travelers while keeping them safe. We are streamlining security procedures for families with our Families on the Fly program at select airports. The golden age of travel has arrived, and it starts with prioritizing the American family. So TSA implements dedicated security lines for families at some airports. That's certainly a good thing. I wish they would just put the damn article. Why the fuck not put the article here when they just... Why are you just going to take a picture of it and not link the damn article? So let's see. Families on the Fly program. Let's see if I can bring that up. Families on the Fly program. DHS. So this is from Department of Transportation. TSA. This is from TSA.gov. DHS puts families first with Families on the Fly campaign. U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Noam announces the Families on the Fly campaign Thursday, the latest TSA initiative designed to enhance hospitality for families during the airport security screening experience. DHS and TSA are committed to making the airport security experience as smooth and stress-free as possible for traveling families. The Families on the Fly program being rolled out at select airports aims to mitigate the unique challenges families face when traveling and minimizes stress while maintaining the highest level of security. So Families on the Fly benefits for families will include the following: dedicated family lanes at select airports nationwide, also discounted TSA pre-check fees for families coming soon, and dedicated TSA pre-check lanes for service members and their families. So that's a good thing, especially with small children. That's really nice, especially during certain times of the year where security gets just absolutely insane. So that's a good thing. So they're rolling that out. Definitely good to see. And we'll move on to the next one here. Let's see here. Secretary Chris Wright. If we can keep the government out of the way, we are going to see a lot of room for growth in American oil, gas production, and energy advancement in the coming decades. Good. I mean, I'm glad he's saying that. I think most people should certainly agree with that. That's one thing I never understood about the progressives and on the left when it comes to wanting everybody to have an electric vehicle. Everybody must have an EV, even though there's, about 240 million vehicles on the road, including EVs and gas vehicles and all the above. I mean, if you switched every single car, 240 million vehicles, if you switched all of them over to electric, we don't have the power grid for that. You can essentially just put solar panels across the entire Great Plains, and we probably still wouldn't have enough energy to power everybody's vehicles. Not to mention these AI super systems that they're coming out with. This AI infrastructure is extremely heavy and energy dependent, as well as mining cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. That's also eating up tons of electricity, having to mine for Bitcoin. And cryptocurrency, it's very taxing on our electrical grid. So you take just those three elements, the EVs, the cryptocurrency, and also the AI infrastructure. We need a lot of electricity to make all of that happen. And I'm pretty sure the left is all about all three of those things, especially when it comes to electric vehicles. I know they're all pissed off about Elon Musk with Tesla and everything. But anyway, the amount of power we're going to need if they want us all to get to EVs, which, by the way, I think only 2%, just 2% of the U.S. population drives electric vehicles. So 98% are still driving gas after, 15, maybe 20 years of electric being available. But the amount of electricity we're going to have to need is equivalent to building 1,200 nuclear power plants. That's how many nuclear power plants that we would need across the country in order for every single American adult to have an electric vehicle and keep it powered. That's how demanding the energy is. Not to mention the whole AI thing, the whole crypto thing, and whatever the hell else that they plan on bringing out that's going to be energy dependent. So they don't have any answers over on the left except just build more solar panels, dude. Just build more wind turbines. Fuck the whales and fuck all the birds. Let's just keep building alternative energy and let China produce all of it, which I believe most of the solar panels and the wind turbines and all that, isn't all that shit built in China? So doesn't that just bolster their economy and in a roundabout way just weakens our economy further? Plus, being dependent on the weather to get our energy is, needless to say, it's kind of a bonehead move. I mean, I'm sure you're not seeing China that's going full in on solar panels and turbines. I'm pretty sure that they're still pretty heavily dependent on gas and coal for electricity in China. And I'm sure they're building nuclear too. But yeah, oil, definitely good. Gas production, definitely good. Energy advancement, I hope that's in reference to nuclear power plants. It's crazy that we've only built like, 3 or 4 in the last 40 years. It is insane. We should have built hundreds of nuclear power plants at this point. There are regions in the country, you're not going to get anywhere in the country that is 100% guaranteed free of any natural disaster in any way, shape, or form. Like, there's always going to be a risk with anything, no matter what. With that said, there's got to be some areas of the country where they could build large nuclear power plants and start building their AI infrastructure around that. I mean, I know you got to transmit the electricity hundreds of miles to get it to wherever the population is. So, I mean, it's not going to make a lot of sense to build nuclear power plants out in the middle of nowhere unless you're building lots of factories and what have you around it to provide electricity for something like AI innovation and whatnot. So anyway, I'll just move on. So Attorney General Pamela Bondi, our motion has been filed. That's in reference to, this was earlier today. So President Trump said, based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam perpetuated by the Democrats should end right now. There's a lot of people on the right who are pissed off about this, and I'm pretty confused myself. But anyway, Attorney General Pam Bondi said, President Trump, we are ready to move the court tomorrow to unseal the grand jury transcripts. And she said just an hour ago, 58 minutes ago, our motion has been filed. So the ball is rolling. But what's irritating me about this is that he comes out and says that the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing was a big scam. So what, he's implying that the client list was a scam? That there was no client list? I mean, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Then why the hell is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison? What's she doing in there then if there was no client list and there was no, like pedophile sex ring going on and there were no 1,000 victims? And even if there were, so you mean to say that Jeffrey Epstein by himself, he's like the one sole person who sexually assaulted over 1,000 minors? Is that what he's trying to suggest? And still, I can't help but not get past the whole Ghislaine Maxwell thing. Why the hell is she in prison then if this was all a giant hoax? How come you're not petitioning or pardoning her or whatever? That doesn't seem to make sense to me. So I don't know what the hell is going on with all that. It just, the conspiracies, they just spin up more and more. The rabbit hole deepens, and Trump is not doing anybody any favors by going here. I mean, I don't know why the hell they weren't just transparent from the get-go. We know there's a client list. Come on, they've been talking about this shit for years. He was running on that during his campaign in 2024. He was talking about, as soon as I get in, we're going to release it. Kash Patel was saying the same thing. Pam Bondi was saying the same thing. They were all talking about doing that. And now it's just a giant scam. It's all the Democrats' faults. They were talking about Jeffrey Epstein and how he was grooming minors on Epstein Island and it never happened. What? All right, whatever. So, I mean, I'm assuming they know what's in this grand jury testimony. President Trump probably doesn't know because he's busy doing a million things. But, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I got a feeling that we're not really going to see a whole lot come out of that. And if we do, it's probably not going to be related to any specific names that we might get from the Epstein list. So, whatever. So, moving on. So, the CDC, I thought this was pretty interesting. The salmonella outbreak update. 49 people are sick in 27 different states with 9 hospitalizations after contact with pet geckos. So geckos can carry germs, which all animals can, like salmonella. Geckos can carry salmonella that can spread to you and make you sick. Always take steps to keep you and your family healthy around geckos. So in this little flyer, it says, wash your hands after handling your gecko and keep them and their equipment out of the kitchen. And that's from the CDC. I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that geckos spread salmonella. I don't have a gecko. I do have frogs. I've got 7 poison dart frogs and 3 different varieties of them. And 2 of them laid eggs, and I ended up with 4 tadpoles, which have since grown into frogs. They're almost 2 years old at this point. I did not want 7 frogs. I only wanted 3 or 4, but I got 7. And they keep laying eggs. Like, they keep wanting to make more. And I'm like, no, hell no, dude. I got enough. I can't handle it. There's already too many of them. So anyway, Department of Homeland Security. Americans are safer at night now that these scumbags are off our streets, thanks to the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Noam. Here are some of the worst arrested by ICE yesterday. So let me see if I can bring this thing up here. I believe there's 5 or 6. So this is out of ICE in Los Angeles. They arrested Phong Tan Nguyen, a 50-year-old citizen of Vietnam. Vietnam, not Mexico, not Central America, not South America. He's an illegal immigrant from Vietnam. And he was arrested because he was wanted for murder of the second degree. His criminal history includes a conviction for murder, second degree, not premeditated, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Well, I'm pretty sure that is, by definition, second degree murder. If it was premeditated, that would be first degree murder. But I'll digress. So ICE Miami arrested Juan Felix Yanes Montano, a 56-year-old citizen of Cuba. Yanes' criminal history includes convictions for robbery with a deadly weapon, armed burglary, kidnapping with a deadly weapon in Miami-Dade County. So he's been arrested, that asshole. So ICE El Paso arrested Cesar Porras, a 24-year-old citizen of Mexico. Porras's criminal history, conviction for possession with intent to distribute a quantity of a mixture and substance containing fentanyl in Pecos, Texas. Dick. So ICE New Orleans arrested Eduardo Salinas Gonzalez, a 33-year-old citizen of Mexico. Salinas' criminal history includes a conviction of smuggling aliens, asshole, escape, and 1325, or 21325, whatever the hell that means, and 2 illegal reentries in Zapata County, Texas. So he's been busted. Good thing. And then I believe that's the last one, right? Yeah. ICE of Baltimore arrested Abraham Tadisi, a 50-year-old citizen of Ethiopia. Tadisi's criminal history includes a conviction for rape, second degree, in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ethiopia is in Africa, right? I think there's a giant ocean that separates North America from Ethiopia. And actually, I think a lot of land separates Ethiopia from the ocean. I don't know. I'm not too well versed on my African countries, but I think Ethiopia is over there. All right, so I'll just move on from that. So that's good. You know, Department of Homeland Security, ICE, they're crushing it. They're fighting the good fight. I think they're actually recruiting, or at least trying to recruit more people, especially after the big beautiful bill was signed. I mean, that allocated billions of dollars for border patrol and just cracking down on illegal immigration in general. So I'm sure they're going to be trying to hire a shitload of people in the coming weeks and months. So this comes from Secretary Chris Wright about 6 hours back. Reclaiming leadership in global energy production means that we need more coal production. Thank God we have a president now who understands the importance of energy addition. And this is in response to Rapid Response 47. A new coal mine is coming to Tennessee. Oh, yeah. The process was sped up through the new environmental review procedures after the president declared a national emergency earlier this year. So let's give this a watch.
New information about the approval process for a new coal mine, specifically the findings of its environmental impact assessment. We're talking about Hurricane Creek Mining, which plans to operate on Bryson Mountain in Claiborne County near the Kentucky state line. A document from the U.S. Department of Interior says no significant environmental impacts were found. It also says the mine was not located on any sort of historical site.
Good.
I told you an expedited permit for Hurricane Creek Mining was granted last week. The process was sped up through new environmental review procedures. They were created after President Trump declared a national emergency earlier this year. The company is expected to produce up to 1.8 million tons of coal over the next 10 years. It will also support local jobs.
All right, let's go. 1.8 million tons. That sounds like a lot. Sounds like a lot of coal. In the grand scheme of things, maybe it's just a drop in the bucket, but hey, every little bit helps. Clean coal. Hopefully it's clean coal. Defense news. On the sidelines of the signing, the leaders also teased a new phase in the provision of long-range weapons to Ukraine. The first German-UK defense pact was signed since World War II, followed by Moscow warning from defensenews.com. So the first German-UK defense pact since World War II, followed by Moscow warning. And this is from the Netherlands. Germany and the UK, let me see if I can bring this up a little bigger, have signed their first bilateral defense pact since World War II, promising to come to each other's aid in case either is attacked and deepening defense integration. On the sidelines of the signing, the leaders also teased a new phase in the provision of long-range weapons to Ukraine. Shortly thereafter, Russia's foreign ministry renewed warnings that such a move may be met with military strikes against European countries. I mean, possible, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I think, in my opinion, we should stay out of it. We being the United States. Look, they're a lot closer to Russia and Ukraine than we are. So if they want to do that, then fine. Let them do it. Whatever. I just think the United States should get the hell out of it completely. I don't think we should have gotten in it in the first place. It's just my opinion. So anyway, the new bilateral agreement, referred to as the Kensington Treaty, was signed on Thursday in London. It includes a broad range of promises, ranging from joint military-industrial exports to facilitating school exchanges between the two countries. It additionally commits the NATO allies to assist one another, including through military means, in the event of an armed attack on the other. Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz called it a pivotal day for the relations between Germany and Britain. He also said that he had spoken with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer about Ukraine's need for long-range weapon systems. Ukraine will soon receive substantial additional support in this area, Merz told the press. Dude, they are not going to make this thing any better. They're only adding fuel to the fire. They should just stay out of it, man. But just hours later, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova repeated earlier warnings that Russia may see itself forced to strike targets in Western Europe if Kiev receives long-range weapons. I mean, maybe. So anyway, I'll link this in the description. I'm not going to read it all word for word. It's kind of a long-winded article, but it'll be in the description if you want to check it out. So let me move on here. So this comes from CBP. Nice shirt, USA, buddy. But it doesn't erase the fact that you entered the country illegally. CBP officers encountered this individual at the Peace Bridge in New York. He has multiple DUIs and a misdemeanor assault charge. Criminal illegal aliens have no place in the U.S. Amen. Dude, you break the law. You broke the law by coming into the country in the first place. So you got no excuse. Even if he had no DUIs or anything like that, dude, you entered the country illegally. You got to go back home, and then if you want to come in, you got to do it the right way. So this is from DNI. Tulsi Gabbard, director of the Department of National Intelligence, I think. I'm pretty sure I got that right. So anyway, Americans will finally learn the truth about how, in 2016, intelligence was politicized and weaponized by the most powerful people in the Obama administration to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a years-long coup against real Donald Trump, subverting the American people and undermining our democratic republic. And here is how. As I take a quick sip of water here. All right, so the creation of the Russia hoax. Real intel assessment. Russia and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting cyber attacks on infrastructure. Donald Trump wins the 2016 election. And then December 8th, POTUS briefing was pulled. IC polls product that contradicts Russia hoax narrative. And then December 9th, the secret Russia meeting. Then Obama officials plan to meet to plan the Russia hoax. And then December 9th, the Obama order, the intelligence community begins outlining new assessment to claim the election was, quote, hacked. And then there were deep state leaks. Obama officials used their media propaganda arm to spread fake news. Of course they did. Fake weaponized assessment, suppressed prior intelligence showing Russia lacked intent and capability to hack the 2016 election. It was all a big hoax. Well, she's got a thread of this in here. So, oh yeah, let's see. I guess it would have been easier to have read it that way. So there you have it. You want to pause? Anyway, moving on. So for months preceding the 2016 election, the intelligence community shared a consensus view. Russia lacked the intent and capability to hack U.S. elections. This is from the head of the DNI. The head of the DNI is saying this. So it's about as official as it gets, right? I mean, it really is. But weeks after President Trump's historic 2016 victory, defeating Hillary Clinton, everything changed. And then they get into more details if you want to read that. And moving on to December 8th of 2016, intelligence community officials prepared an assessment for the president's daily brief, finding that Russia did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting cyber attacks on infrastructure. Before it could reach the president, it was abruptly pulled based on new guidance. This key intelligence assessment was never published. So there you have it. Even has a deputy director memo. So, moving on. The next day, top national security officials, including FBI Director James Comey and CIA Director John Brennan and DNI James Clapper, gathered at the Obama White House to discuss Russia. Obama directed the IC to create a new intelligence assessment that detailed Russian election meddling, even though it would contradict multiple intelligence assessments released over the previous several months. Yeah, I absolutely believe this. I mean, this is, yeah, totally true. Absolutely believe this. So, yeah, and they're actually releasing information. They're actually releasing reports and shit. This is crazy. Obama officials immediately leaned on their allies in the media to advance their falsehoods. Anonymous IC sources leaked classified information to the Washington Post and others that Russia had intervened to hack the election in Trump's favor. Dude, you are not going to see any of this in the media. And honestly, I'm kind of irritated that she decided to drop this today because how does the saying go that Friday is the day where news goes to die or something like that? Like Friday is notoriously the one day during the week that they will drop bombshell news reports, just knowing that they're just not going to get any traction because people are out enjoying their Friday nights or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. Probably should have released this on like Monday or Tuesday, but I mean, it's better than not at all. So on January 6th of 2017, just days before President Trump took office, DNI Clapper unveiled the Obama-directed politicized assessment, a gross weaponization of intelligence that laid the groundwork for a years-long coup intended to subvert President Trump's entire presidency. According to whistleblower emails shared with us today, we know Clapper and Brennan used the baseless, discredited Steele dossier as a source to push this false narrative in the intelligence assessment. Absolutely. And let's see. Yeah, so she's got a couple more mentions or a couple more posts here. So these documents detail a treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest levels of the Obama White House to subvert the will of the American people and try to usurp the president from fulfilling his mandate. This betrayal concerns every American. The integrity of our democratic republic demands that every person involved be investigated and brought to justice to prevent this from ever happening again. I mean, dude, you really think that's going to happen? I think it absolutely should fucking happen. I think all of them should be indicted on this shit. I am providing all documents to the Department of Justice to deliver the accountability that President Trump, his family, and the American people deserve. Dude, how insane would that be if all of those dudes, James Clapper, Jim Comey, could you imagine if they all got indicted for that? That would be fucking crazy. John Brennan. I mean, hell, even Obama. I mean, maybe not. I know it gets a little murky with him being president at the time because if they're in office, they can't be charged with a crime. But he's not in office anymore. So, I mean, maybe it's possible. But so that is interesting to say the very least. So we'll have to see if anybody picks up on that in the coming hours or even days. And this comes from the U.S. CGS Southeast. The breaking CGC Resolute's crew offloaded nearly 12,600 pounds of cocaine. 12,600 pounds of cocaine worth an estimated $93.2 million at the U.S. Coast Guard sector. St. Pete, that's where I live. I live in St. Pete. After a 59-day patrol. Absolutely nuts, dude. $93 million worth of coke that almost got flooded into my community. Way to go, U.S. Coast Guard. Absolutely crushing it. Let me just bring up a couple of these pictures. Bring up these pictures. They're all wrapped up in all them burlap sacks. Damn, that's so much coke. That is just all cocaine. Just solid cocaine. Absolutely crazy. I mean, not to be funny, but heads are totally going to roll for that. I mean, that cocaine, somebody's going to pay a heavy price for losing all that. That's for damn sure. I mean, not to try to assess any or put out any puns or anything like that, but anyway. So that's awesome. That's great news. Absolutely great news. It is crazy the amount of drugs that they're seizing. Fucking crazy. So this comes from the U.S. Attorney at D.C. A day at the U.S. Attorney's office in Washington, D.C., and that's with U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro. I just thought that was interesting. I mean, you don't really see the inside areas of the federal justice department, justice system very often. So that is a lot of agencies. I'm assuming that's what those are, right? I think those are agencies, departments, agencies, maybe sub-agencies. Who knows what? 5 million employees. That's how many people in government. That's just federal. That's just federal government. 5 million people working in the federal government. So yeah, needless to say, there's news dropping all the time, all over the place. They're constantly pouring news out onto the internet for not very many to see. I mean, look, like 2,200 people saw this. Or no, they didn't. 61,000 people saw this and 2,200 gave it a like. So the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says she looks sad, but don't feel bad for her. She's a wolf in sheep's clothing with criminal histories in Colorado and California, Montana, and oh my God, I cannot believe that I'm forgetting this. Not New England. Oh my God. Nebraska, right? Is it Nebraska? Oh my God. Oh my God, I sound so retarded right now. Is it Nebraska? It is. Okay, good. I had a crazy brain fart moment. I don't know why. I should have known better. So anyway, she's been busted with racketeering, identity theft, mail fraud, and forgery. Instead, feel bad for the people like her victims who get defrauded and have their identity stolen. Yeah, no shit. That's good. It's good they got her. Got him. This comes from the White House. The worst of the worst, MS-13 animals, rapists, child predators were allowed to flood our country, but not anymore. President Trump is rounding them up and sending them out. No mercy for criminals, no sanctuary for monsters. While the left makes excuses, Trump takes action. So this is a quick 46 seconds. Let's check this out.
Promises made, promises kept, with President Trump taking immediate action on his top campaign focus, fighting illegal immigration.
He's an MS-13 gang member wanted in El Salvador for aggravated murder, and he has an Interpol Red Notice out for his arrest. This illegal alien from Brazil, who has an Interpol Red Notice for armed robbery. Salvadoran illegal alien, charged locally with rape. Guatemalan MS-13 gang member.
Trying to deport those who are here illegally who have committed violent crimes. That means gang members, that means murderers, that means child molesters, that means rapists. If you're the Democrats, how could you possibly be opposing this when most Americans would say, yes, of course these people should not be in the country who entered here illegally?
Get them all out of here. Get every one of them out of here. All of them. All the criminals, get them out of here. Venezuela, all throughout Latin America, they were emptying their prisons and they were sending them up here. They were flooding the border just along with everybody else. People who were not criminals and people who were criminals. I mean, that's what I've heard. I heard that there's prisons all over Central and South America that were completely emptied out, and they sent them all up here just for us to deal with all their shit. So it kind of reminds me of the Muriel Harbor boat lift back in, when was that, like in the late 70s or like early 80s from Cuba to Miami. Yeah, tens of thousands of prisoners were sent from Cuba that were flooded into the U.S. around then. So anyway, from the U.S. Commerce Department, America First trade policy in action. Bahrain's Gulf Air will buy up to 18 Boeing 787 aircrafts, supporting 400,000 U.S. jobs with production and delivery. Under the president, Secretary Howard Lutnick and DOC worked to counter foreign competition and deliver a win for American workers. Definitely good news. From the Air Force, they're unmanned, AI-enabled, and flew alongside crew fighters. So what exactly is the Valkyrie testing, and why does it matter for future warfare? Find out what we're learning from these missions. That thing is unmanned. That is unmanned. That looks like a full-on fighter jet, and there's nobody in it. Yeah, there's no window. It's windowless. That is absolutely insane. So I won't get into the details with this article, but I will leave it in the description if you want to find out about this. This is the first time I'm hearing about this myself. So this is in Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. The U.S. Air Force recently demonstrated human-machine teaming during an Autonomous Collaborative Platform, or ACP's, test alongside crew fighters. The 96th Test Wing 40 Flight Test Squadron executed the XQ-58A Valkyrie test with pilots managing ACPs in simulated combat situations. These autonomous aircraft are designed to operate alongside crewed aircraft, providing affordable capabilities that can operate semi-autonomously in high-risk environments, and marked another step toward their integration into air combat. Holy shit. That is awesome, man. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Our military tech is just getting off the chains, man. Absolutely crazy. So this is Rapid Response 47 from them. Well, it's actually from President Trump's True Social account. House approves $9 billion cuts package, including atrocious NPR and public broadcasting, where billions of dollars a year were wasted. Republicans have tried doing this for 40 years and failed, but no more. This is big. I made a mention on this when I did my segment last night. They were talking about getting this done, and they got it done. So it looks like NPR has had their federal funding pulled, and PBS was another one. Yeah, public broadcasting. So, yeah, they're getting their funding pulled. Good, because they're obviously very left-leaning. They're not fair. They're not balanced. And a news agency, I don't care if they're sitting in the middle anyway. I think regardless, they shouldn't be getting any federal funding at all. I mean, if you claim to be a news agency, you're supposed to be the voice of the people, pushing back against the government, holding the government accountable. How are you going to hold the government accountable when the government's signing your paychecks? It makes no fucking sense. All right, moving on. Department of State. President Trump's official delegation, including Deputy Secretary of State, is at Expo 2025 Osaka at the USA Pavilion to showcase the spirit and ideas that shape our country and promote the U.S. as an investment and tourism destination. So that's awesome. Yeah, that's happening next week, I want to say. I think it starts July. Maybe it started today. Or maybe it was yesterday. I think it was like July 17th or something like that. So that's nice. Very cool. U.S. innovation, tourism, Department of State. Oh, right. So USA Pavilion. So yeah, to get more information, this is the website. 86 days, 7 hours, and 18 minutes, huh? The USA Pavilion invites visitors to celebrate America's excellence. This 31,000 square foot exterior consists of two triangular buildings juxtaposed by a suspended cube. Two LED screens project iconic landmarks. Inside the pavilion are a series of immersive exhibit spaces. Oh, that's cool. And this is in Japan. That's cool. I didn't even realize this was a thing. That's neat. Check this out. Oh wow, man! They even got fireworks going and everything. So it's like a museum of America, I suppose. Like, this is what America's like. You should come check us out. A bustling restaurant welcomes visitors to taste unique and varied cuisine, from Alaskan salmon and Maine lobster rolls to all beef American corn dogs and key lime pie bars. After watching a musical or cultural performance, visitors will wander through an American garden composed of native plants, grasses, and flora. Dude, this is awesome. It's like the Museum of America. Musicians, dancers, artists, speakers, and chefs representing various regions throughout the United States will provide education, entertainment, and inspiration to millions of visitors. Dude, this is off the freaking chain. This is awesome. This is dope. Look at that. They got the American Southwest up here. Spark transition. Yeah, that's cool, man. Earth information and simulations. The urban, exterior screen, urban, nature. They had it backwards. That's urban, and that's nature. I don't know. Somebody in the web design department, they screwed up. They got it backwards. So that's in space. That's cool, man. I want to visit this. This is cool. So it's going to be up for, what did they say? For like 86 days? 86 more days, so a 3-month exhibit. Very cool. I'm assuming it's free. I would expect it to be free. Oh, no, it's not free. What? How much are they charging for tickets for this thing? Purchase expo tickets and plan your adventure. It's a whole adventure. Tickets, admission, information. It's probably not even going to be in USD. Official digital ticket. Purchasing at convenience stores or travel agencies. Full employment. Just easy. Dude, just tell me how much it's going to be. Just tell me how much. Oh, wait. Here we go. Purchase guide. Maybe that'll tell me. Purchase tickets. Come on. I just want to see. How much it costs. That's all. Is that too much to ask? The site is currently very busy. You are now online. Oh, shit. No. Oh, come on, man. Really? They're going to make me wait? Oh, uh-oh. Didn't expect. Why can't they just tell me how much it is? Is it $30 to get in? Is it $300 to get in? I mean, what's the big secret? Dude, I'm not going to wait for this. Plus, I don't even know what it's... This feels a little sketchy at this point. I'm joking. This ain't sketchy. It's just not something that I'm used to seeing. It's just strange. Buy for the first time. Maybe the website's just overloaded. Privacy policy. Oh, no. I'm not going here. I'm not going to go do all this. All right. I guess I overstayed my welcome. But anyway, that's cool. I mean, it's not relevant to anybody watching this probably because we're not in Japan. Most of us. We're in the U.S. or perhaps you're maybe in a European country, or maybe you're in Australia, or maybe you're just an English-speaking person who just lives somewhere else in the world that might be listening to this. And if that's the case, that is absolutely awesome. It's very cool. Thank you for listening or watching or both. U.S. Department of Labor. We'd love to see it. And this is WDBJ7. Oh, yeah, your hometown station for news, sports, weather, and entertainment in Southwest and Central Virginia. Dream it, build it. Camp inspires careers and skilled trades. This is cool, though. Check this out.
These Roanoke City public school students got a glimpse of different in-demand careers during the Dream It, Build It camp.
It's a great diversity of manufacturing
Good
these
money,
kids
man.
will be exposed to.
AI ain't replacing
to
that.
kind of help them frame what their career choices are and hopefully kind of spark the ideas in their minds as what they want to do for their future.
The students visited Branch Fabrication Shop to participate in different activities.
It gives them the idea of how we operate business where, for example, our engineering department will produce drawings for us, and then here at the shop, we'll take those drawings and then fabricate this material and then send it out to our projects.
Some students say they were interested in learning more about this type of work.
It seemed really fun. I'm going to be able to go to different job sites, making things more efficient.
Experts in the workforce say skilled employees are needed for industries right here in our hometowns.
We're short on trades nowadays. It seems like labor's always been a problem for us. It's to give the kids an idea of how these things operate in the construction business and try to get them a little bit interested in what we do.
We want them to understand that the world has a wide variety of careers for them. We want them to find that fulfilling career that satisfies their desires and their goals in their lives.
Money.
In Roanoke, Sophia Borelli, WDBJ7.
That's awesome. Good money, though, man. And AI ain't going to replace those jobs anytime soon. I don't think AI is going to replace a roofer. I mean, not to say that that's the best job to get. I mean, it's backbreaking work. But that's cool. I mean, my high school, we had a career center at my high school. At the time when I was in high school, back in late 90s, early 2000s, it was the largest high school in the world under one roof. So that might not be too hard to find. But at the time I went to school there, maybe there's bigger high schools now, but at the time we had a giant career center. We had a machine shop. We had a welding courses. We had a collision repair, all kinds of, we also had a home building class that you could take, and they literally built an entire house from the foundation to the roof. And the high school students did all of it. And of course the teacher, and they got the proper permits and everything, but they built an entire neighborhood right next to my high school. Every single one of those houses were built by high school students. And apparently those houses are rock solid, like crazy well built, very strictly built to spec and everything. And they've been doing that for decades. I think the first houses that they built were like back in the 70s or something. And they're still doing that to this day. So, I mean, a career center, I'm sure that most high schools may not have career centers that elaborate. I mean, we even had a restaurant. We had a restaurant open to the public that was inside our high school. The high school students worked. They worked the kitchen. They did the serving. They did all of it. I mean, you could take a class in restaurant management or whatever the hell they called the class. It was crazy. They even had a dental hygienist. They had a dental assisting, all kinds of shit. And computer programming. We had like probably 15 different classes in just computer programming, just like doing like C# and Python and Java and all those other programming languages. It was crazy, man. It was a cool high school. I mean, I didn't really spend much time over in the Career Center, though. I was kind of an artsy-fartsy guy, just like screwing around and just taking all the easy stuff. But I did excel at science. I was really good at science. I took a whole bunch of science. So anyway, so this comes from U.S. Attorneys. ICYMI from USAODC. That is a mouthful. Official account of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C., led by U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro. So, former Voice of America employee indicted for threatening Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Watch yesterday's press conference. Looks like it might take us over to YouTube, though, which should be fine. Yeah, no big deal.
All right,
oh,
good
man,
afternoon,
8 minutes.
Everyone. Today we are taking a stand against those individuals who seek to threaten and intimidate public officials.
That's very weird.
Because
at least I'm not hearing any sound.
Every day and wondering if those threats.
Oh, it's my earbud. Damn it. My bad. That's in my headphones. Yeah, my earphones are messed up. But you know what? I'll actually link this. I won't go ahead and play it. I mean, first off, it's almost 10 minutes. But I'll link it in the description. Former Voice of America employee indicted for threatening Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'll at least read the description, though. I mean, to be fair. So, an indictment unsealed today in the District of Columbia charges a Maryland resident with influencing a federal official by threatening a family member, influencing a federal official by threat, interstate communications with a threat to kidnap or injure, and anonymous telecommunications harassment. According to the indictment, between October 11th, 2023 and January 21st, 2025, Jason made threatening calls to the Dalton and Rome district offices for Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a Republican from Georgia. The U.S. Capitol Police investigation revealed that the phone calls were made from various phone lines connected to studios and control rooms at Voice of America headquarters, where Jason had worked as a longtime employee. In 8 different calls made over 15 months, Jason threatened the use of firearms to kill Rep. Greene, her staff, and their families. Good. I'm glad they got him fucking indicted. They should have indicted him freaking months ago. That's good. So that's, yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Hopefully they throw his ass in prison for a long time. Long time. Oh, yeah. Or I'll just leave it up there in my tabs. I just want to make sure that I don't lose that video clip so I can drop it in the description. All right. So from the U.S. Army, watch these warfighters at the shooting range honing their lethality. U.S. National Guard soldiers participate in weapons and aerial gunnery qualifications. Specialist Anthony Nadeau. Sorry, I'm bad with names, man. But anyway, let's watch some badassery. Hell yeah. God, it's so much fun. Dude, how could you not enjoy the hell out of that? Join the army. Shoot guns. Lots and lots of guns. Guns, guns, guns. Hell yeah. U.S. Army. Let's go. All right, so moving on. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. My thanks to Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and Minister Ryosuke Akazawa for their warm welcome to Japan. Grateful to represent the President and the American people at Expo 2025 Japan, alongside U.S. Ambassador of Japan, and to celebrate the enduring alliance between our two nations. A good deal is more important than a rushed deal, and a mutually beneficial trade agreement between the U.S. and Japan remains within the realm of possibility. I look forward to continuing formal talks in the future. So the 2025 Osaka Kansai Expo is happening. I'm not 100% positive as to when it started. I'm assuming it already started, didn't it? Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, so it involves this. It involves this expo, too. So from 4/13 to 10/13. Damn, that's going on for like most of the year. That's cool. So, yeah, that's happening. Always good. Always good. Good news from the Treasury Secretary. And this comes from the U.S. Ambassador to Japan. There is no more important Indo-Pacific partner for the United States than Japan. Today's presidential delegation meeting with Prime Minister was a chance to reaffirm our commitment to forging a new golden age of America and Japan cooperation on every front and in every area. Very nice. There they are meeting. Good times. Good times. So we'll move on from there. So that happened. When did he post that? About 12 hours ago. So yeah, that happened today. So this is from Vice President J.D. Vance. Forgive my language, but this story is complete and utter bullshit. The Washington Journal should be ashamed for publishing it. Where is this letter? Would you be shocked to learn that they never showed it to us before publishing it? Does anyone honestly believe this sounds like Donald Trump? Let's see. Breaking, the Wall Street Journal. This is from Yashar Ali. I'm not familiar with this individual. He's got a lot of followers. So the Wall Street Journal has reviewed a book put together for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday. As part of that book, a letter was submitted by Donald Trump. Trump's letter features a drawing of a naked woman and this text, which imagines a conversation between Trump and Epstein. So this is all a work of fiction. That's what it sounds like. So they got the full story here, but it isn't clear how the letter with Trump's signature was prepared. Inside the outline of the naked woman was a typewritten note styled as an imaginary conversation between Trump and Epstein, written in the third person. I'm not going to read this shit. It's an imaginary conversation. It's fucking stupid. Whatever. I'm not even going to bother with the... You know what? I'll link it. I'll bring it up just to link it. Actually, I don't even know if it's even going to let me. Don't they paywall this shit, the Wall Street Journal? I mean, it could. It might. Yeah, it is. Yeah, they paywall it. I thought they did. Fucking trash-ass, stupid-ass publication. It's not even worth anybody's time anyway. But, yeah, I mean, at least J.D. Vance made everybody aware of them talking shit. So, anyway, he followed up with that, by the way. He said, doesn't it violate some rule of journalistic ethics to publish a letter like this without showing it to the victim of this hit piece? Will the people who have bought into every hoax against President Trump show an ounce of skepticism before buying into this bizarre story? No. The answer is no, dude. Come on. And we all know that. We all know they're not going to. They hate Trump, and that's it. The end. Bottom line. And they're just going to say whatever the hell they want to say, just if it hurts Trump's image just a little bit more. So this is from Don Trump Jr. Let's fucking go. So Donald J. Trump. That was in reference. I already read this. Attorney General Pam Bondi responded to this earlier. So, yeah, that was Don Trump Jr. responding to his father's post earlier today. Or no, that was yesterday. That was last night at 9:07 p.m. when he posted that on his True Social. And this is from the U.S. Navy. Smooth landing. Dude, this thing is absolutely nuts. Look at this hovercraft. Sailors from Naval Beach Unit 7 guide a landing craft air cushion, an LCAC, onto the shores of Queensland, Australia, delivering U.S. Marines and equipment during Talisman Sabre 2025. Talisman Sabre is the largest U.S.-Australia military exercise, strengthening partnerships and advancing a free and open Indo-Pacific. Master Sergeant Matthew Keeler took the picture. That is fucking nuts, dude. That is absolutely wild. I've seen one or two other pictures of this. I've seen one from an aerial perspective, but I haven't seen it in a front view like that. That thing is crazy. I'd be curious to know how wide that actually is, like how wide that measures. I mean, what? I would just throw out just a random ass guess, not even an educated one, but what, 150 feet wide, maybe 100 feet wide. I mean, maybe not that wide, but I mean that's a big ass hovercraft. The thing is nuts. That's fucking awesome. 140,000 people saw that. So this is from Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, or Leavitt. Trump wins again. Senate passes $9 billion in cuts to global aid and public broadcasting, which I did make a mention of that up there. So the Breitbart actually put out an article, which, of course, as usual, I will link it in the description. $9 billion package, federal spending cuts aimed at public broadcasting and overseas aid as well. Not just public broadcasting, but overseas aid was passed by the U.S. Senate early Thursday morning, and yet another sweeping legislative victory for President Donald Trump. So let's see. The bill shuts off funding for foreign aid grants for U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, once final approval by the House of Representatives is given after a vote due this week. The legislation must pass by a Friday deadline. So, I don't know. We'll see. Today's Friday, so I didn't see anything, and I was looking at all of my information before I started this video. I was checking everything up until about 7 o'clock p.m., and I didn't see whether if it was passed or not up to that point. It's possible, but I think I would have seen it if they did. But anyway, this one comes from the CBP. It was posted yesterday, but it was posted like after, no. Okay, it was yesterday morning. I thought it was yesterday night when they posted this, but it's already here, so I'll show it. Thanks to the president for helping in the frontline against fentanyl. CBP is committed to ending this epidemic and protecting our communities. CBP's frontline against fentanyl. So let's give this a play right quick.
With this bill, we are officially and permanently classifying all fentanyl-related substances as Schedule 1 narcotics, which is actually a very big deal. It doesn't sound like much. It's a big deal, as they will tell you, meaning anyone caught trafficking these illicit poisons will be punished with a mandatory 10-year minimum sentence in prison. We'll be getting the drug dealers, pushers, and peddlers off our street. And we will not rest until we have ended the drug overdose epidemic.
Damn, 10-year minimum. Dude, this is an uphill battle. The war on drugs, I think it's always going to be an uphill battle. So, and this is the link that was referencing Trump's speech. It takes a team effort. Fentanyl is serious and it's deadly. One strike and you're out. Join us in the fight against it. And just 2 milligrams is enough to kill you, which is absolutely nuts. The danger is real and deadly. What can you do? Talk to loved ones about the dangers, so on and so forth. So it appears to be just an awareness article for the most part, or a webpage. This is on cbp.gov. The border security frontline against fentanyl. And they've got statistics over here. Drugs, dosage, value and weight, and also the seizure statistics. And 1 pill can kill. I wonder how much. I wonder if it's simple or if they go into way too much detail here. To access the data used to build this dashboard. No, not really worried about that. So fiscal year drug seizure weight pounds by month. 20,000, 40, 60,000 pounds a month. Holy shit. And this is, let's see, where's 2025? Here's 2025. So it's kind of on par with the other years, with the exception of 2023. There was a drop for some reason in 2023, at least in this part of the year, but it was almost at the highest there. The hell, man, look at 2022, man. It's absolutely off the rails. Probably because the border was being flooded by illegals around then. I'm sure they were carrying in shitloads of fentanyl right in with them. But from what I've heard, so I did grand jury service last year. I was on our grand jury for the 6th Judicial Circuit for the state of Florida for 7 months. And the district attorney who was there, when we were waiting on the next case to come in, he was just kind of like, we were just bantering back and forth, just killing some time. His brother works in the FBI. He didn't say exactly what position he was. He said he's higher up in the FBI and he lives in Washington, D.C. He said that these drug dealers with fentanyl, they're not smuggling it in necessarily. They still are, but they're not smuggling it in the quantities that they were a few years ago, because what they're doing now, they're bringing in the precursor chemicals and materials to manufacture it inside the country. So apparently they're not smuggling the finished fentanyl product into the U.S. as much as they are manufacturing it from the interior of our country. So apparently that's happening, and that's a major problem. He's the only person that I've heard that from. I haven't really seen that mentioned anywhere else. So, I mean, it just his word, but I mean, he's a district attorney, man. So I don't know why he would just make that up. I mean, we were just in conversation. Obviously, somebody brought up the issue. I mean, it was probably a case that we heard, because we did hear a few cases regarding drugs, like murders. Yeah, I believe every case that we heard was involving a murder. We indicted 17 people for murder over those 7 months. That was crazy, dude. That was a pretty wild experience. I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I mean, your odds of getting picked for a grand jury, at least in Pinellas County where I live, it's like 1 in like 1,000 or 1 in 2,000 chance or something like that, because we have so many people that live here. But yeah, it was quite an experience. It was pretty wicked, pretty cool. So anyway, from the Department of State, watch the department press briefing with State Department Spock's Tammy Bruce, or spokesperson. Yeah, spokesperson Tammy Bruce for the State Department from the press briefing room of the State Department. Yeah, I guess we'll give it a quick watch here. As long as it's not too long. No, not an hour. Come on, man. You know what? What I'll do is I'll just link it if you want to check it out. I mean, oh, dude, come on, hour of my ass. That's 2 hours and 40 minutes. Now, to be fair, yeah, I was going to say most of it's probably just like waiting for her to come in. But yeah, I'll link it. I mean, I would react to it, but she's probably going to talk about a lot of stuff that I'm not well aware of, so it probably wouldn't really be worth reacting to necessarily. But this did actually it was, the press briefing was yesterday, so that's kind of outside my 24-hour scope. I'm trying to keep things inside 24 hours, so I guess somehow that slipped through. Yeah, 2:53 p.m. Yeah, I should have actually skipped that, but whatever. Anyway, that's all right. So I think we're on the last one here. So from the Treasury Department today, Treasury has sanctioned the head of terrorist cartel Tren de Aragua and 5 other key leaders and affiliates. Tren de Aragua threatens public safety through illicit drug trade, human smuggling and trafficking, extortion, sexual exploitation of women and children, and other destabilizing criminal activities. In line with President Trump's mandate to make America safe again, Treasury remains dedicated to dismantling Tren de Aragua and disrupting the group's campaign of violence. Let's go. So that's from the Treasury Department, and it was also posted on July 17th. Yeah, yesterday morning. Dude, all right. Well, that's okay, though. But anyway, that's all I got. So if you enjoyed it, please please subscribe, and please leave a comment. I always read my comments for at least a couple of weeks after I post any video. So I'll most likely and almost certainly see your comment if you post one in the coming days. But if you enjoyed it, definitely please subscribe. I'm going to do my best to try to put out a new one of these each day. Just comb through the social media X app and just see what the government's up to. I'm actually, this weekend, I'm going to try to work on getting a lot of individuals. See, I've got a lot of departments and agencies. I'm following a lot of them, but I also want to see if I can start creating a new a list of officials, a lot of Congress members, for example, or the cabinet officials and a lot of the higher ups that are in government. I'd like to try to follow them too to see what they're saying, because they've got their own opinions outside of what the entire department is stating on the record and publishing for the whole country or the whole world to see. So I might get into that maybe in the future, you know, if this gains any traction or if any interest, or if I just keep going with it and I want to do more than one video a day, I might actually do a second video a day where I go through individuals and what they're saying, as opposed to just what their agency or their department is saying. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you later. God bless America.